Say now, how do you do? How do you do? How do you do that? Challenges abound, some people swim and some sink, but always remember it doesn't hurt to think. It doesn't hurt to think.
Hi, I'm Dave. Welcome to How Do You Do That? The song says it doesn't hurt to think, and I believe that's true. I want to start out by giving you a problem that will make you think. This particular problem is about a family. Here's a picture of a family. It's my family. My wife, 2 sons, and my daughter. Now, this problem isn't about my family, but about a family where there are boys and girls. It seems that one of the boys is named Jack, and one of the girls, Jack's sister, is named Jill. So we have Jack and Jill. Jack has the same number of brothers as he has sisters, but Jill has twice as many brothers as she has sisters. The problem is to figure out how many boys and how many girls are in that family. I'm going to give you some time to think about it, and I'll give you the answer at the end of the show. We'll see how you do. I'd like to show you a way that you can simulate the roll of 2 dice on your computer. And in fact, once you get this program going, you could use the program in place of dice in a board game such as Monopoly. The idea is based on the fact that the computer can generate random numbers, and I'd just like to tell you a little bit about random numbers. If you had billiard balls numbered 0 through 9, and you put them together in a big goldfish bowl, say, and you put your arm in and you mixed them around, and you took out 1 and looked at the digit on that particular billiard ball and wrote it down, and then put the billiard ball back inside, mixed everything together again, took out another one, and so on, recording the values each time, what you'd end up with is a sequence of random digits. The computer, when you're working in the language BASIC, can generate its own random numbers, and what happens is the computer will generate a random number from 0 up to 0.9999. Now, that's no good for dice values because we want a value on each die that will go from 1 up to a value of 6. So what we're going to have to do is take the random numbers that the computer generates and just modify them slightly, and here's how it goes. If you think of the computer generating a random number from 0 to 0.99999, you take each one of those numbers and you multiply by 6. Well, 6 times 0 is still 0, and 6 times 0.99999 is about 5.9999 something. So we've got, let's see, 0 to 5.999. Well, then if we chop off everything after the decimal, we now have 0 as the number on the lower end and 5 as the number on the upper end. Well, if we then add 1 to each of those values, we end up with 1 as the number on the lower end and 6 as the number on the upper end. Perfect. We've got the numbers that represent the faces of each die. So what we're going to do is have the computer print out that value from 1 to 6 using the random numbers and modifying them, as I've suggested, twice, and we'll get 2 dice values. Let's see exactly what that program looks like. You'll notice in the first line of the program I have a command called randomize, and you can check in your own basic manual under the random command, RND, and if it says that it's necessary to use the randomize command at the beginning of the program, you just put it in. In this version of BASIC, it is necessary to do that. So I have the word randomize. Then down a little further, I have print int rnd times 6 plus 1. So the rnd times 6, remember that's giving us numbers that go from 0 to 5.999. The int in front of that chops off everything after the decimal and makes those numbers integer values. Then you can see the plus 1 that we've added on the end just as I said we would have to. And of course, the line print means print it out. And computers working in the language called BASIC understand that print command. So that line is in there twice because we want one value for the first die and one value for the second. So we have our set of dice. Then there's a print statement here just to make the next set of values print one line lower on the screen. And we have a little what's called a delay loop in here to give us a little bit of time in between throws of the dice. It's called a for-next loop, and it's a very easy two-line step in the program for waste time. WT equals 1 to 5,000, next WT. It makes the computer count to 5,000, which the computer can of course do very quickly. And then at the bottom of the program we have a line that says go to 5. That means go back and start the process over, give us another set of dice values, another set of dice values, and so on. We could use these dice values instead of the actual values on the physical dice that I was throwing earlier to play the game of Monopoly. The first set of values would be your first move, the second set of values your second move, and so on. So if we come over here and run the program, type run and hit enter, this version of BASIC also asks for a seed number for the random generator, and it's just something to get us going. So I'm going to enter the numbers 1, 2, 3 as the seed value. 1, 2, 3, and enter. And we start getting our set of dice values. We've got 5 and 2 for the first roll of the dice. 5 and 2 again, coincidentally, for the second one. 3 and 5. 2 and 3, 1 and 5, 3 and 2, and so on. So each successive set of values on the screen represents what we would use in place of the set of dice in the actual playing of Monopoly. There is another way to do this. You could stop the program and run it each time from the beginning when you want the next roll of the dice instead of having the values come up as they do here. But either way, you get an interesting way to use your computer to come up with a neat application. Here's a neat paper folding idea. You can even recycle a piece of old paper with this. Here's a piece of paper from Waterloo County Invitational Chess Tournament 1991, not 1901. All right, we're going to take this piece of paper, and first of all we need a square. So I'm going to fold this edge along the top, and I'll take the safety scissors here, and we'll slice off the last remaining bit. Put those aside. Better put these back in the case here. Pretty dangerous. Okay, we've got a square piece of paper and we have one fold. This is called a valley fold in paper folding, or origami as the Japanese would call it. We need another valley fold from corner to corner. So I'll put these two corners together and crease that. You have to make sure that every fold is creased well with your thumbnail. So there they are, the two diagonal folds. Now we need the two cross folds this way. So once again, a nice tight fold that way, and one this way. So very simple so far. We have two diagonal folds, and we have the cross fold. Now we want to make a kite at each corner, and I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to take this outside edge and fold along the center line. So when we do, it looks like that. Take this edge and do the same. Okay, so there's your kite shape. All right? Now, very simply, you do that kite shape at each corner. So I've undone it. I go to this corner, and I put the kite shape together. There it is, kite number 2. 2 more, and we've got all the folding done. Kite number 3. And remember, crease each fold. There it is, number 3. Now, there should be one more kite that I can do here. Yes, I can see it's at this corner. I haven't done that. So kite number 4, outside edges along the center. Let's just think of that again. The 2 diagonal folds, the 2 cross folds. And then we've done the kite shape at each of 4 corners. So very simple. Now, first time I saw this one, I actually read the instructions from a book, and I was amazed at what happened next. From this simple set of folds, you get an absolutely beautiful geometrical shape. What you do is you push in on the middle of each side, and you get a starfish shape. Okay? Now, what you want to do next is to bring the 4 points of the star together right out here, and at the same time push the center back towards you. Now, if you've creased the paper properly, then this should come together. And if you haven't creased the paper properly, it won't work. Now, I've creased it properly. I still have to wrestle with it a little bit. But when I do, I get this very nice geometrical shape, sort of a diamond, or if you turn it around this way, it's a Christmas decoration. You can take the 4 points at the top and either glue them together, that looks the nicest, or you can stick them together with a piece of tape, and there you have it. A nice 3-dimensional shape, perhaps, for a Christmas tree. Let's suppose you've just been to the bank machine and you have a crisp new $20 bill here, and you want to give this as a gift to someone. Well, you could just put it in a card, or you could hand it to the person, or you could do this. You could fold it along the length, and we'll keep the Queen's face on the outside. And remember, once again, really crease the fold. Okay, and then I want to open that up and fold each outside edge into the middle again and really crease that. Okay, so we have the fold down the middle and the 2 outside edges into the middle. And now we're going to fold it in half this way and really knock those down once again like that. We'll take out the safeties. No, not this time. Not this time. Not with a $20 bill, we won't. All right, what we're going to do next is turn this into an arrow with a squash fold. So I'm going to squash this into the center and go to this side and squash that right down into the center. 2 squash folds. There we go. Okay. Now that looks like a one-way arrow. Now if you imagine a line from there to there, we're going to fold backwards along that line. There's no line or no fold there, but we'll have to imagine that. So I'll fold backwards along that line. There it is now, from there to there and backwards along that line. Turn it over on the other side and do exactly the same thing, backwards along that imaginary line. So in other words, the point has now disappeared. I have 8 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, and on this side, 5, 6, 7, 8. What I'm going to do is just fold down all 8 corners, and that's the end of the folding that I have to do. So here's the first corner of 8 folded down, second of 8, third, fourth. Fold them down, turn it over, 5, 6, 7, and 8 corners there. All 8 corners folded down. Now let's just think about that. Along the middle and the 2 edges in, fold it in half and then squeeze down the point, and 8 corners to fold down. Then what you do is very carefully open this up, and you've got a perfect little bow tie with a nice square knot right in the middle. What a great way to give somebody a gift of money. In your math classes, you've probably talked about the value pi. Now, pi is a pretty important number, mathematically speaking. You have to know the value of pi in order to calculate the area of a circle, to calculate the circumference of a circle, so pretty important stuff. And this particular value, pi, has been known for hundreds of years. I want to show you a couple of ways that you can calculate the value of pi to a certain number of decimal places to amaze your friends and impress your teacher. The first method involves a simple division. If you think of the first three odd numbers, so we have 1, 3, and 5, you're going to double each number or duplicate each number. So we've got 1, 1, 3, 3, 5, 5. And we're going to turn it into division right in the middle. So we'll take 1, 1, 3 and divide it into 3, 5, 5. Now I've done that on the computer, 1, 1, 3 divided into 3, 5, 5. And I've come up with a value of 3.141593. Now if I compare that to the actual value of pi, which is on my calculator display here, correct to 7 decimal places, on the calculator I'm getting a reading of 3.1415927. So the simple division, 113 divided into 355, has produced a value of pi that's correct to 5 decimal places. Easy to remember. 113 divided into 355. Now, if you think that was good, wait till you hear this one. Here's a way that you can remember the value of pi correct to 12 decimal places. Now, it does involve remembering a verse. If you can remember the verse, you can remember the sequence of digits. Here's how the verse goes. See, I have a rhyme assisting my feeble brain, its tasks oft times resisting. Now, it took me a while to memorize that, but I finally got it. See, I have a rhyme assisting my feeble brain, its tasks oft times resisting. Now, you simply count the number of letters in each word. And when you do that, you get the following value of pi. 3.141592653589. That's pi, correct to 12 decimal places. Talk about impress your teacher or what? All day, all night, Mary Ann, down by the seaside, sifting sand. Even little children love Mary Ann, down by the seaside, sifting sand. I'd like to show you how to play that song on your piano keyboard. You can do that using only 2 chords. The first chord is perhaps the easiest one to play on a piano keyboard. It's the key of C major. If you go to the middle of the keyboard, you find a group of 2 black keys, and to the left of that group of 2, there's a note called C. And if you think of the C as the do of a do, mi, so chord, you have a C major chord. If we go 1 octave down to the group of 2 and the note just to the left of there, we also have a note called C. So on beat 1, we're going to play the C in the left hand. On beat 2, the chord in the right hand, C major chord. On beat 3, we'll play the note that our 4th finger falls on, which is a G. And on beat 4, we'll play the C major chord. So it'll be note, chord, note, chord, note, chord, note, chord. Now, if you can play that pattern, you can play the G major pattern. Lift your hands, count 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're on a note called G here and here. So note, chord, note, chord, note, chord, note, chord. So 2 patterns, the C pattern and the G pattern. Let's get the rhythm going, and using that, I'll play the song. All day, all night, Mary Ann, down by by the seaside, sifting sand. Even little children love Mary Ann. Down by the seaside, sifting sand. If your keyboard has a record function on it, you can do an arrangement of All Day, All Night Mary Ann with a slightly different flavor to it. First of all, I'm going to use this record function in automatic accompaniment to get a left-hand part using the C chord and then the G chord. So I'll set this on record and start the pattern. Stay on the G chord, back to the C chord. G chord, stay on the G chord, so there we have it. We have the background recorded, and if I hit the start button, what I'm going to do now is just play the melody along with that accompaniment.
A question burns within my heart. It's been there from the very start. Each line and color plays a part. But are there any rules to art? And what would Picasso say? Baby, what would Picasso say?
Are there any rules to art, and what would Picasso say? You may have read in the paper the article about the purchase that was made by the National Art Gallery. There was an artist, he was an American man, his name was Barnett Newman, and he painted a picture called Voice of Fire. It was purchased by the art gallery for $1.8 million, and basically it looked like this. Now it was a little bit bigger, but it was a brilliant red stripe on a blue background. Now, if that particular painting happened to be worth $1.8 million, I'm going to show you how to put together a graphic design that has to be worth at least twice that much. This graphic design involves 3 parallel lines to start. So what you do is put down your ruler and draw a line on top. Holding the ruler in the same place, you draw a line on the bottom. That gives you 2 parallel lines. And then you move the ruler down 1 width and draw a line along the bottom. So there are your 3 parallel lines. You now draw a line at an angle to those 3 lines. Mathematicians would call such a line a transversal. If you measure the distance from this point to this point and divide by 2, on this particular graphic design, that distance is about 4 centimeters from the top to the middle. So dividing that in 2, I get 2 centimeters. So I'm going to put a mark at 2 centimeters there and a mark at 2 centimeters there. Now I want to copy that 2 centimeter distance 3 times out to the right and 3 times out to the left. Now the next step involves taking each point along this middle line and connecting it to the center point and on up to the top line. Take this point, join it to the center point and up to the top line, then this point to the center point and up to the top line, and this point to the center point and up to the top line. We'll do the same on the other side. Take this point to the center and up to the top, and so on. You move across doing that. And out here to the center and up. When you do that, it starts to look like this. Point, join to the center, and up to the top. Point, join to the center, and up to the top, and so on. So there's the beginning. Okay, and when you complete that whole pattern, going to the top line and through the center point to the bottom line, you get a number of triangles. Not too impressive just yet, because we haven't added any color, so we're maybe up to, 1 million. We'll erase some lines at the outer extremities. If you do this in pencil, that's easily done. You end up with quite an attractive graphic design. I also have two variations that I'm rather proud of that I've done on the original theme, just colored in a slightly different way. Here's a computer version of the same thing, done with a draw program. I drew the parallel lines in the transversal, made the divisions, and came up with the triangles in the same way, and then it was just a matter of selecting colors and taking the mouse, selecting the paint bucket and a color, and filling in the color. So there it is, graphic design a la Dave, 3.6 million.
What would Picasso say?
That's about it for today. Say, do you remember that problem we were talking about at the beginning of the show? The family, where there was Jack and Jill, and Jack was supposed to have the same number of brothers as he had sisters, but Jill has twice as many brothers as she has sisters? Well, here's the answer. In that family, there must be 4 boys and 3 girls. So if you got that, good for you. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned some things. Hope you had some fun. Bye for now.
Have you ever wondered just how something's done? Have you ever hoped that you could learn while having fun? The how, the why, the where, whatever, at every turn a new endeavor. Watch out, 'cause it might increase your clever quotient. How do you do? How